studying. Really? Welcome, everyone. This gentle class on Wednesdays is usually a mix of gentle and restorative, but today we're doing more restorative. And restorative is easier physically because we're basically propping ourselves up in poses where we're shaping our bodies in different placements so that we can open up energetic channels, so that we can bring a little synovial fluid into the joints. It's good for the inner organs. It's good for combating stress. It's good for helping high blood pressure get reduced. It's good for calming anxiety and really just getting in touch with yourself and reconnecting to a place of wholeness. And our theme for today is based on something that Swami Shivananda used to say. And I know you probably don't know who this is, but he was this cute Indian guru who was really popular in the 60s and the 70s. But he came over to the United States to spread the teachings of yoga during a time where there was a lot of civil unrest in the nation. There was a lot of movements for women and for racial equality, and really just trying to cultivate some change. Backlash against the government for the decisions they were making. And as we know, this movement kind of took over and music became really important. And these big music festivals were happening. And in '69, Woodstock happened. And Swami Shivananda opened up Woodstock. He's not an artist, he's not a musician. He was this older man with long hair and a long beard wearing his white robes, and he went up on the stage and he says, "Before you take anything," which was probably already too late, but he said, "Before you take anything, I want you to try this with me." And he was doing some movement and some breath work and leading meditation. And he was trying to get the people to see they didn't have to depend on substances to alter their state of consciousness. We have the ability to alter our states of consciousness in a very positive, uplifting, euphoric way. And these are the techniques and the tools of yoga. And so that's what he was trying to impart on them. If you're gonna take yourself into this euphoric state, why not elevate your consciousness instead of dirtying your consciousness, was kind of his idea. Anyway, he said equanimity is yoga. Yoga is equanimity. And so equanimity is being able to be neutral despite failures and successes. Having equanimity is holding space even though there's a lot of polarity. You see what's happening right now in the world? There's so much divide and so much polarity and so many strong opinions, and we're getting more and more divided. And these are teachings from yoga that go back thousands of years. If we want to cultivate equanimity in the world, we need to have equanimity first within. If we want peace to reign in the world, we have to find that peace within. Anything that happens at a micro level is going to affect us at the macro level, just like things happening at the macro level can affect us at the micro level. But all we can control is us. We can't control all the big stuff. And so this is my aim and intention for you today, to use this intention to develop equanimity so that when you go back into the world and you see all this polarity, you see all these emotions and all the chaos, that you're able to maintain a calm state of mind and you're able to stay even-minded through it, which is hard to do, right? It's a practice. That's why we call it practice, and we practice and we practice and we practice and we practice, and we slowly get better at it. So that's the intention for today's practice. The last thing I want to say as an example, it's a silly example, but it's still a good example. My son is in high school, and he's been, bless his heart, he crushed on this girl for 2 or 3 years. And I told him he couldn't date until high school. And then right when high school started, he was like, "I'm ready to ask her. Can I ask her?" And I said, "Sure." And he did. She said yes. And 2 hours later, he got a text saying, "No, just want to be friends." He was obviously brokenhearted by that. But he was able to get through that, and he was able to build his confidence again. And he started a new school, made all these new friends, and he started crushing on a new girl, which I encouraged because I'm like, yes, like she can still be your friend, but she doesn't want anymore. So good for you, move on, right? And he's been developing this friendship with this girl, and they started to exchange numbers. They literally have been talking every day. And he's gotten signs. And then he got bold and brave last night. She said no, because he's younger. He's a year younger than she is. So you can imagine, here he is. He put his heart out there again, and crushed again. And it's horrible as a parent to see your child hurting and to have experienced that for yourself, and there's not a lot you can do. And so I was talking to him about this subject matter last night. I was like, you know what, my subject matter is going to be in class. It's going to be about equanimity, and not looking at things as being a success or failure, not looking at things as yes or no, as good or bad, but trying to gain a higher perspective. I was like, she didn't flat tell you no. You were having a conversation and she told you she wasn't going to date anybody younger before you even asked, before she even knew that's where you were going. So look at the bigger, broader perspective of it. They're still friends. They're still going to hang out. And I told him, I was like, guess what? It's like, there were a couple guys in my past that I said no to. I just wanted to be friends. And I ended up marrying them both. And one of them was his dad. So, you know what I mean? It's like, but what if he wallowed in that sadness? What if he wallowed in that heartbreak? And then he started talking negative to himself and about himself, instead of being on the right, trajectory of, gaining a higher perspective of it and realizing, hey, I can still be friends with this girl. And it doesn't mean it's never going to happen. Anyway, a little simple example, but that's what we're going for, equanimity today. So what we're going to start with is Stonehenge.
I like when you explain things.
Oh, good. Good. I think the stories help too.
Yeah.
Because it brings it back to real life. It can be heady philosophy, and then you bring it back to real life.
Yeah.
All right, stand your blocks up like columns. You're gonna make Stonehenge. Now, the blanket can do one of two things. You can have it underneath your head as a cushion or pillow. You could also open it up, fold it in half, and take it over the belly for some grounding. But you cautiously place your calves on top. If you grab one of the towels for the eyes, you'll just drape it over the eyes. And if you didn't grab a towel, no big deal, just close the lids. And then just take a moment to settle in to your body. We have the legs elevated, which is good for our blood flow, which can be aiding for the heart. It can be a natural sedative for the mind. Once you close your eyes and you have your legs elevated, just notice the contact of the earth beneath your body. Noticing what is touching down. Maybe even noticing the natural curves through your spine. Let your head take rest. The neck no longer has to hold it up. Let your arms relax, and the hands can be on or off the body. Then I want you to explore not just what's calling out physically in your body, but what's happening mentally in your psyche. Are you coming to the mat emotionally wound up, heavily opinionated, or the mind is busy? And if so, don't worry about it. That's just a reflection of the world, but we can do something about it. And I want you to bring a breathing treatment to yourself. And all you have to do is increase your intake of oxygen into your lungs. And then freely allow that breath to escape when it's ready. Breathing in. Breathing out. And purposely bringing the breath down into the depth of the belly so you feel the belly swell and balloon. On the inhale, and you feel it softly deflate and retract on the exhale. At the same time, you're breathing down into the depth of the belly. Breathe up into your heart space. Think of the wave of the breath being like a wave of an ocean. Coming up to the seashore. Receding back from the sea in which it arose from. In Chinese medicine, they say the sea of qi in the body is 2 inches below the navel and all the way up to the top of the sternum. As your inner awareness surfs the wave of the breath up and down the front side of the body, you can also imagine the thoughts that flow up to the surface of the mind. You can practice detachment from, and it will go back and recede into the depth of mind in which it arose from. So equanimity allows us to stay unbiased, using the principles of non-attachment and non-resistance. And non-attachment is a piece of yogic philosophy. If by chance you wrapped that blanket across your abdomen, you may want to release that, because now we're going to hug the left knee in towards the upper body. Your hand hold can be behind your thigh or in front of the knee or shin. As you're hugging the left knee in, try not to overly squeeze. Sometimes we talk about the Goldilocks approach, not too much, not too little, just right. Enough to feel the lengthening and flattening of the low back on this left side. To the hold and the squeeze to bring some nourishment into the left hip. And it'll receive the flush when we exit. But right now, maintain it. And breathe slowly, steadily, and evenly in and out through the nose. Unless you're congested and need to use your mouth. This also aids digestion. It helps to eliminate cramps, aches, pains, and trapped air in the belly. Hold it 3 more breaths. At the end of that third, release the left leg back to Stonehenge. And then just rest here for a moment and notice that space, that air, that release from the left hip. And then we'll take it to the other side. So gently cup a hold of your right thigh, knee or shin. Depends on how much flexion you can get in this knee. Finding that Goldilocks approach, not squeezing in too much, not doing too little, but just right. You know you're overdoing the stretch if the buttocks scrolls away from the floor. Continue to breathe in a diaphragmatic way, down into the belly and up into the heart. This type of pranayama is naturally calming to the mind and nervous system, which helps us move into equanimity. That slow, deep, conscious breath work allows us to shift out of the stressed out state, which is the sympathetic nervous system, to the calmer, cooler state of being, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. Your right ankle just be a little floppy, foot and toes relaxed. Take 3 more breaths.
Now release after that third breath. Come back to that Stonehenge. Propping the calves on top of the bolster. And then pick up both calves and roll to the right side. Push down into your left hand. So what we're going to do next, we're going to take the bolster down. And again, you can do that blanket the same way, over the belly for grounding or under the head for a pillow. I'm going to show you two different ways to do this. One way would be to stack the soles of the feet together. Now this is really going to stretch the inseam of the thighs that grow in the hips. If that's too much sensation, if your hips are too tight for that, you're going to cross the feet to the floor on the other side so that the bolster is providing the support for your hips and knees. So pick one of those, and you may want to start soles of the feet on top. And then if it becomes too intense, you can drop the feet to the other side. This is called Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined bound angle pose. Sometimes referred to as reclined butterfly. Once you get comfortably set, feel free to close the eyes or cover them with a towel. It really does help to minimize distractions, and it can help to deter the external light from filtering through the lids. This second energy field that we've entered into now has a spiritual lesson with it that's about adaptability. Being able to roll with changes. Change is to be expected. Change is inevitable. We have been going through some massive shifts and changes. Personally, professionally, nationally, globally. So don't be shocked or surprised if you have some sensitivity here. With equanimity being one of the goals of yoga, you can see that equanimity is a practice of resilience and unwavering balance as we face difficult situations and hardships. To your breath to soothe you and to coax you from the inside out. Allow your breath to help you to retreat within, to find refuge within your own heart and soul. if or when your mind trails away, come back. Observing and following the breath. Controlling it when need be. Now we're going to plug in an affirmation for the mind. So basically, when I say this aloud, you're repeating it silently to yourself. I accept everything that comes my way as an opportunity for further growth. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is. I will accept everything that comes my way as an opportunity for further growth. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is. Take 5 more breaths. The end of those, you can flutter the knees back up and together. We're going to roll away to the right side. We're going to press down into the left hand. We'll set up for our next pose. This one's going to be a back bend. I'm going to show you this one with blocks, but if you need something more gentle, okay? The most gentle back bend you're going to get is having the bolster lining up with the spine like this, which is actually really comfy. But if you want a little bit more, you're going to have the block on its tall height, a block on its middle height, with a few inches in between, kind of looks like a T. And you may want to cover up your whole body with the blankets for this one. But basically, the first block is going to go and stack underneath your mid back, and then your head rests on the tallest. You can see the blocks make it a little bit more dynamic. You can really open up the center or the cavity of the chest. And the shoulders will fall back more with the blocks than it would for the bolster. So please consider your back. Please consider your chest, your heart, your current condition to see which would be best for you. And then, of course, you can always drape the towel over the eyes with these poses. So I meant to remind you guys, a great stocking stuffer, it's a little late now, but a great stocking stuffer to ask for is an eye bag, like a lavender scented eye bag. Because the pressure of the eye bag, when it rests on the forehead, can activate an acupressure point for the third eye that helps us to gain a bigger, broader perspective of things. But it also calms the vagus nerve, one of the major nerves in the upper body. And when we can calm that major nerve, then we have that natural state of equanimity rising up inside of us. Restorative yoga should be comfortable to your body. So if you're finding the pose that you chose isn't working out very well, if you're not settling in, then please switch to the other. Yeah, listen for those reactions and cater to your body's needs. Turn it the other way. Yeah. Yeah. So you guys that swapped or altered your position or made a little adjustment, you were doing the right thing. Because we need to notice what experiences, what triggers, what emotions or sensations cause us to flinch or respond in a negative way, and then alter that. That can help us to move back into equanimity. Equanimity allows us to stand in the midst of any conflict or crisis, staying balanced, grounded, and centered. Once the body's comfortable, then the mind can be comfortable. If you need the mind to calm and slow down, the best tool to use is the breath. Begin this pose by focusing on the breath and taking 7 deep breaths, counting them one by one. After you've completed your 7 rounds of breath, if you're on a bolster, you can bend your knees and roll away to one side. If you're on the blocks, however, turn your palms down close to your body onto the sticky mat, peel your head off the top block, and then slowly rise up to the back. Now you can keep this blanket wrapped over your body to keep you warm. Your bolster is now going to come to your right side. You're going to lift up energetically, and you're going to wind into a twist, turning your belly and chest in the direction of that bolster, walking your hands beside it, and attempting to rest on your left cheek, but if that's too much, you can turn and rest on your right cheek. So taking a twist, the knees are bent.
They can be stacked or staggered. Either way is fine. Just check in with your low back. Once you release down to the pose and you figure out which cheek is best to rest on, one side will be deeper and you'll feel that in your neck and your low back. And then instead of allowing the arms to be so close to the bolster, slide them out a little ways just so that your upper back can broaden and soften. And then this mindful observation, observing the body, the way it feels, observing the sensation as it comes and goes, observing any feelings that get provoked or any thoughts that surface in the mind. When we are in a state of equanimity, we're able to see things as they are without getting too caught up in what is seen. The ability to see without getting too caught up in what is seen. The ability to hear without getting too caught up in what we're hearing. This is not only important now, it's important during the times that we're living in. It will be very important in the coming days and weeks ahead.
And slide the hands closer to the body. Slowly begin to feel our way up, away from that drop. The twist is the two-sided pose. So we turn so that the left hip is now going to be in contact to the bolster. Make sure you lift to the crown of your head before twisting and lowering. And then turn to rest on the opposite side of the face than you did before. Unless that's too much for whatever reason. Get your arms spread out. Back home to your breath. Just know as you're residing here that even though it's a passive twist, you're still getting the benefits of a twist, which is good for the digestive system, the endocrine system, respiratory system. It's good for bringing more flexibility to the spine. Reducing any lactic acid from the muscles that are working as well. Firm and mentally within. I accept everything that comes my way as an opportunity for further growth. Secure in myself, I accept whatever is. I am balanced in the state of equanimity. Balanced in the state of equanimity.
So completely surrender into this moment in time. I'm not the mind to take you away to yesterday or tomorrow. Count 7 more breaths. After the 7, you can slide your hands in closer. Gently draw yourself up to the seat. Just sit on the bolster. Always wrap the blanket around you too. We're going to take a moment just to sit together in silence. Our intention was to develop some equanimity. By using these poses and this time to slow down, to just be with our breath, practice mindfulness, to cultivate some inner peace. The challenge lies ahead of us to stay grounded, centered, and balanced upon our departure, despite the headwinds we face and the chaos in life, to see if we can use some of these tools to maintain this equanimity. Joining your hands to prayer position at your heart. Light in me honors and bows respectfully to the light within each of you. Stay. Thank you guys for being here today. We are going to be open for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day.